Hello. Let me know when you can see me and you can hear me. Seeing some lots of nice friendly names on there. Jeannie, Marlena, Leslie, Elizabeth, and Dawn, and Susan as well. So do let me know when you can see me and hear me. If Susan can see me, do let me know if you can hear me. So someone just say audio fine or no audio, or just give me a clue as to how we're performing. Hi Tish, Dawn. Hi Catherine. Hi Rev Dot. So if somebody could just mention the audio is fine. Oh, fantastic. That's good to know. Okay, so we're all good. We're a little bit not early really, are we? But we're out for a couple of minutes to have a little natter and say hello. And Humphrey has having a little rest now because he's already been had a run first. Otherwise, he was just too manic. He was it's like the assault on kind of a mountainside when he was trying to pull. So he could pull the dog sled. He was absolutely excitable, I think it's fair to say. But he's calmed down a bit now, but not too much. I'm trying to preserve his energy so that he can have a good run around for you guys. So at the moment, he's sitting there thinking, why have we stopped? How boring is this? I was promised adventure, fun, ball play, woods, and he's sitting on a bench talking to these people. Get on with it, Humphrey is saying. Probably hearing whining in the background. Mrs. John is with me as well, just in case you hear noises off, as you might say. And Linda's with us as well. And so we'll bring on camera in a minute to say hello. And so we've got a few there, and we're about ready to go live, aren't we? We'll go live in just a moment or two, because he's getting a little bit stalled. So I know everyone's here to see the lad himself. So just me frozen? Let's hope not. Let's give you a first glimpse of the hero of the hour, who is gone camera shy quite quickly, and probably go to the toilet. Take that off because that's not really sort of spectator sport, is it? So if you can do your business, Humphrey, you don't do it now in the next sort of 30 seconds before we set off. My connection's good. That's fantastic. Sounding good to hear. So a little refresh perhaps is the thing. Yes, Jeannie, International Dogs Day. Yes, so we became aware today. It wasn't planned, or rather didn't schedule or plan this for that particular reason, but by happy accident, happy coincidence, that it is. Let's go live. So good evening, good afternoon, good welcome, good morning, wherever you are. You're joining me here in, well, we're in a place near York, not far from where we live, a place called Naysmire Woods. And it turns out this tour, which was planned to connect you all with Humphrey again after his long layoff, happens to fall on International Dogs Day. How perfect is that? Somebody must have known. So without further ado, let us get to see who you come to see. This lummox over here. And so we're in Naysmire Woods. We are very, very near the races. Today has been the Ebor race meet, biggest, richest handicap, European horse racing. Happened today, the A64 in front of us, arable land. So you're going to see quite a lot of people coming back from the races, probably kind of walking down here. It is a most popular day of the year. Hope you have a good day. Did we win?
No, we didn't win.
Win or lose, have a great day at York races.
Bookies won a bit.
Bookies, they win every race, don't they? So there we go. So expect to see a few people kind of wandering down, a little bit busier than normal. So we are by the race course. We're kind of walk around the kind of race course, give Humphrey kind of run out with his balls, and then we'll go back through the woods. So just kind of thought I'd kind of bring you up to speed really, because funny if we had a tour scheduled with Humphrey in the first part of June. And you may remember that I actually had to cancel that tour and postpone it. He said, oh, Humphrey's hurt his leg and I can't take him out. And it was a strange kind of story how this all sort of played out. I've been out on a tour with you guys. It was a lovely warm, I think, was it a Friday evening, I believe? A Saturday evening. So it would have been exactly whatever it was today, 11 weeks ago. And I'd come back and it was really warm. And Mrs. John, who's here with us on the tour, give her a wave, was out watering in the garden. Now, Humphrey has got a real thing he absolutely loves or he used to love chasing the hosepipes. Little rat or a bowl or something just went past there. And he loves to go mad and just chasing the water soup. So consequently, I said, "Oh, run the hose through," because he was already doing it. And so we did, but it was in a space where it was much more constrained than normally. Normally, do it in the sort of middle of the lawn. Humphrey, what have you seen? He's got very interested to me. This is the spaniel in him. He's a spaniel and a poodle cross, and he's definitely like a field hunter. And so consequently, Humphrey went for the jet of water, and then suddenly shrieked out. I mean, like a shriek you've never heard before. I'm gonna say like a child or a baby. It was really primal. And we were just unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. He continued. He fell to the floor and shrieked and shrieked and shrieked. It was absolutely awful. His hair is lovely, isn't it, Sandy? And so we didn't know what the hell to make of it. We thought he was having a seizure. What's going on? And then he got up and he was holding his paw. And bear in mind, this is all happening in sort of quite an enclosed area, like in the brick shed around us, and the greenhouse and stuff, and sort of big pots, sort of plants in and stuff. So we thought, oh, has he really banged his leg? He was holding his leg. And so, oh gosh, anyway, he seemed to recover a little bit. And so we thought we'd better contact the vet. So I rang the emergency vet. By this time, it was probably sort of well after sort of 7 in the evening. And I know he's definitely walking Mrs. John. It was definitely well into the evening, so the normal surgery was closed. So I described the kind of symptoms to the vet over the phone, and he was like, "Well, just like he's had a nasty bang on it, there's not much flesh, obviously, on their paws. It can really hurt them. So consequently, have him rest. If he's walking around on it, chances are, it's not broken. It's probably okay." So we thought, okay, but we also had a thing through our vet insurance whereby you could have a video consult. So anyway, a couple of hours later, you concentrate on your frock there. A couple of hours later, we had a kind of video consult with ever so nice lady vet, and what she sort of again looked at him. We described what happened. He banged his foot and all this, that, and the other. And again, she said, "Oh, you got something stuck in your foot." Oh, I've got it out now. Oh, he had like a nice little, look at that. He had a nice little prickly thing stuck in his paw there. I don't know if you saw him get that out, but good boy. Isn't that annoying? And no. So that's what we thought. So she was the same. If you can walk on it, chances are it's not broken. It's nothing too serious. Probably a bad bruise. Give him some rest. Can look after him. And he was obviously sort of feeling very sorry for himself. So, well, we thought, okay, fair enough. So we monitored him for the rest of the evening, and he sort of seemed okay, a bit sorry for himself. And then I think it was the next day he was kind of okay, and then on the Monday something happened again, and he shrieked out again like, "Oh, this isn't right." Need to get to the vets. Need to find out what's kind of going on. His leg was really kind of poorly, but he was still walking on it. Then I think it was the next day. He went for me. I went to stroke him. I went to say goodnight to him and stroke him on his head, and he really went for me. And this has happened early on when we got him at first, because Humphrey was a rescue. He was, badly adjusted and did go for us. He bit me and one of our daughters as well. So it wasn't like it was like the first time. He didn't actually connect at the time, but it was enough I had to really get my hand out of the way very, very quickly. Let's go to the green. And so I thought, something not right here. So I took him into the vets the next day. And of course, usual thing, he's bouncing around like there's nothing wrong with him. So you feel like a complete idiot, kind of like taking your kid to the doctors and there's like nothing wrong with him whatsoever, It's all pain, yeah. So at least, so you sort of feel really stupid. And then suddenly the vet was like, because he has to have a muzzle guard on him at the vet, you see. The vet was like, well, I want to kind of feel around, just see what he's like on his leg. I'll just put a muzzle on him. Anyway, Humphrey jerked his neck back when he did it. And the same thing happened again. So he's crossing the races now, a few hours early. There's horses thundering along here. Now it's Humphrey thundering along. And so this happened again. Again, he dropped onto all fours. He's shrieking out. It's absolutely awful. And the vet said to me, he said, dogs are incredible things. The amount of pain that they can bear is quite phenomenal. He says, I've seen dogs running and chasing balls with a broken leg. He says, the only time I've ever heard a dog scream like that is when it's spinal. on his neck or back. He says, I think that's what it is. And I'm going to refer you to a special clinic. So consequently, what do you want to do? Do you want to come off your ball for a bit? You want to chase the ball? Let's just get a little bit further in. Over here. So it was arranged that we would go to a clinic, a place called Thorpe Park. It's not far away from where we're going tomorrow, actually, Boston Spa. And so they looked at him and said, yeah. And again, repeated it. He seemed good, seemed kind of pretty good when he went in, but then I'll take him off his lead now. But then very quickly, you know, he suddenly became clear that he was still in pain. And yeah, Humphrey, there you go. And so they said, well, you know, we think he's a kind of prime candidate for an MRI. And at this point, of course, you know, the horrendous cost associated with all this was becoming kind of horribly clear. As they were saying, well, the MRI is going to be 3,000 and the operation, God knows how much more after that. But of course, what can you do? When you've taken on someone like Humphrey, you of course need to find a way. Thank you, Ozzy. And so we got the results through of the MRI, and they told us that basically between, I think, the second and the third vertebrae, I've still got them in my pocket in here. After this MRI, and the MRI, I mean, some of you may have had MRIs, I don't know, so you'll know about this, but it's a sort of soft tissue kind of scan, isn't it? And basically what they kind of came back and showed us was this here cross section. And there's a little red mark, you probably can't see too well, there, right in the middle of there. And basically what happened is one of his, what do you call it, like the vertebrae in his neck, a piece of cartilage, I think it's cartilage, or maybe a bone, I forget which, a bit of the bone had broken away, had come loose. And sometimes this isn't particularly an issue, it's not great, but it's an aging thing. But in Humphrey's case, what it does is it got lodged in a nerve root. So basically this fragment of bone was stabbing away at a nerve. Can you imagine what that's like? If you ever had like really, really bad toothache, a nerve, so it's agony. So you can only imagine, you know, what kind of pain he'd been in. So the fact that he wasn't screeching all the time, I think really shows how quite incredible these animals are when it comes to kind of pain, so living with pain. He must have been in absolute agony. So anyway, the vet, obviously, my vet knew. The good thing about my vet is, and like I say, a lot of doctors, is they know what they don't know. And he was quick to refer on when he recognised there was obviously an issue that was beyond his kind of particular area of experience. He referred on to experts. And I'm so glad that he did, because he could have sent us away with pain meds to kind of see how it gets on and all this, that and the other. But, oh dear, look, if you see over there, looks like there's a barbecue got out of control. I can see a ambulance heading over. I dare say this is people after the Ebor, a few drinks trying to do a barbecue, and it's got out of control. So, all right, are you shouting in front of the ladies and gentlemen? That is very, very rude. Look at that. That's no way to behave. Hey, is this how you behave? You're letting us down here, Humphrey. You're making us think you're very badly brought up. Hey, honestly, kids, what do you do with them? So, and they said, yeah, he's a candidate for surgery. We think we can kind of get it out. Obviously, this is where it should have went to 8,500, I forget which. And you guys did an unbelievable job sort of stepping up. You know, we're so grateful. That's why I want to do this video, really, just to sort of show you, you know, what your money bought. Those that you're able to make a kind of contribution this is what you've bought. You know, he's not the same yet. It's going to take him probably several months to get back to his, if he ever fully does. But he's happy. I think you can fill the hole. I think you can absolutely see how happy, you know, he is. And he's in pain, but he was always in pain because he's got his back end is crooked, which I know that you know as well. You know, when we got him, we didn't know for a while, but we found out that he's got dysprasia, is it called, whatever, in the hips. You know what it is. His hips, they're not fully smooth, the hip sockets and bones. There's a bit of kind of rub in there. So he's going to get arthritis and everything as he gets older. You see he's lying down. He's chased the ball a few times and now he needs to rest. But what's great is, hi Sam, is he kind of manages it himself. So he kind of gets it. He knows that he can't just go hell for leather all the time. But you've given him this back. And it's just so lovely to sort of see him kind of back to himself, just being clipped again, and he's smiling, and he was so morose. And of course, that's it. His displacement. That's it. Thank you, Karen. It was so awful, and obviously, so he was in then the hospital for what was it, about 48 hours, 4 days, 4 days. I hope you can. So in for 4 days altogether, which of course was weird because he already had huge separation anxiety when we got him. He kind of stuck to me like glue. So we'd just sort of after a couple of years, we're beginning to kind of bottom that out. And he was starting to be a bit more okay being left alone. But then, of course, I take him to a vet's hospital and leave him there. And of course, Ronnie Lane, he doesn't know. But I hope he does. In one way or another, I think he does, because I can see how happy he is that you're all here too. So, of course, that didn't help either. So we had to leave him there for 4 days in the hospital. And it was so weird. It's like we're suddenly like empty nesters, because the kids are not quite grown up, but they do their own thing. And it's like, he's our baby now. So, what they're like. They're kind of a toddler, isn't it? They're always there. You're always conscious, when you got a dog, that they're around. And so, like, for him not to be there, it was a kind of glimpse of it. And it's kind of, they are so resilient, Carolyn. You're absolutely right. So it was, when we brought him home, I remember going to see him at the hospital to sort of pick him up, and it was awful because obviously you can't really see now because all this. Come on, hold your head still, you. You're gonna cooperate now. It's Humphrey documentary stuff. So all this area around here had all been shaved off. So it was completely bald here, like a monk. You are an awkward dog, and of course, he had a big row of stitching right the way down his neck. And when I was doing the original filming of it, I tried not to show you because it looked like something out of Frankenstein. It was, it was a very, very kind of brutal sort of, cut. But of course, that's what they had to do because he had spinal surgery on his neck. And thankfully, that's kind of growing back. But anyway, so he came through, and I won't say he shot daggers at me, but it wasn't a happy introduction. It was, what have you done to me, you bastard? What have I done to deserve this? We got the other one, and then of course they said, oh, he needs cage rest. I've never had a cage. I never knew really what a cage was. I knew what they were, but to me there was like something you had in the back of the car for going on a journey, not something you lived in. So we were told, no, he's got to live in it for up to 6 weeks. Well, you can imagine how well. For the first couple of days, to be fair, so I had to go buy one because I didn't have one. Luckily, I managed to find a second-hand one, and it was fine. It was good. And of course, I kept so much room as well. So I'm sleeping downstairs next to the dog, and I couldn't leave him like for sort of 6 weeks, because he just kind of pined. So my sort of life had to go on hold for 6 weeks. I just didn't really do any touring or anything really. Just did a bit of that home stuff, as you'll remember, and just kind of looked after him. And can't do screenshots taking a Humphrey, not happy. And so within about sort of 48 hours, he was starting to be, I'd say better, but more himself. Obviously the anaesthetic was kind of wearing off, and he wasn't just like woozy all the time. But of course, what that meant was he was like, right, well, I'm gonna get out of this cage then. And he's jumping up again and rocking it, and if you got the other one, thinking, oh God, yeah, you're going to stitch. What, so this grass is very long. We're looking for balls. Do that thing where do that thing where he try to talk to you, look at you, and look for balls because he's no good. He just looks at you as if kind of like, well, weren't you keeping an eye on where the ball went? It's our job rather than his. When he spits it out. So within about sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 days afterwards, he was very, very much. Thank you. He was very much. He was very much kind of telling us that he wanted out of the cage, but of course we weren't allowed to do that. But eventually we started letting him out for a bit during the day, and anyway, that bit got longer. I'm not going to lie to you. He slept in there every night for the first six weeks. But in the daytime, he wouldn't stay in it. He was just miserable. So he was quite happy. He didn't want to do anything. He wanted to lie at our feet. So we sort of put down cushions, and he kind of laid down, and we kind of managed it that way because he sort of seemed like it was trying to find an appropriate point, if you like, between what he needed in terms of recuperation, but also to prevent him doing harm to himself by being, kind of reacting sillily because he's got no sense. He's not one of these clever dogs. He's a famous dog, Look at him, he's a happy idiot basically. And Humphrey, trying to talk to ladies and gentlemen. So am I. I'll move back so he's not going to talk. So definitely. So his bed rest, his cage rest became room rest, and we hoped and prayed it was enough. But by and large, he did all right. And but what of course we couldn't do equally was we would take him out on like 3 little walks around the block each day. But again, he was just flustered. He didn't. He wasn't getting the energy out of him. And as sort of 2 weeks turned to 3 weeks to 4 weeks, he was superbly ready to get out and about. But of course, we were deeply paranoid. You think he's going to break his bloody neck again, So you end up being all kind of manner of paranoid that anything that happens, that is going to result in a broken neck, which of course it's not going to. But you just end up you're so worried about them, and to be honest, about the cost as well. What happens if he does it again? How are we going to find that money? So we try and wrap him in a blanket, but of course it's the last thing that he wants. He's just a dog, right? And the minute that he wasn't in agony, he was fine. He was clearly in pain and discomfort, but pain and discomfort's fine. He can live with that. He's used to living with that because he's back leg. So I think what it is because he's become so used to living, and I know some of you are in the same position, living with chronic pain, that whilst it's not something that you'd say you enjoy, equally it's not a surprise, and you find a way to deal with your day-to-day life all the same. So I think that's kind of the sort of issue with Humphrey is because he's used to pain. Oh God, I don't want to look at what the insurance is going to be for next year. And that's the insurance as well. So anyway, we take this when you buy insurance. I know those of you that have got pet insurance. I don't know if it's the same here in the States or wherever, but basically, I think there was when it was offered, it's kind of gold, silver, and bronze. Well, I got in the middle then, and took this policy. It wasn't a huge amount of money, £10 a month or £12 a month or something. But it was kind of like to sort of stop nasty surprises. And basically, the way it sold it was, as and when something happens, kind of we've got you back. There'll be an excess. You expect that, of course. But so anyway, so we found out that the whole thing is going to cost us £8,500. You think plus whatever, yeah. And I think, oh right, okay, well, we'll have to find a way. We wouldn't do it. I'm not, not going to do it. We'll find a way. And thankfully, you guys stepped up hugely, which is absolutely awesome. You guys altogether provided about £3,000, which was absolutely unbelievably generous and helpful. And thankfully, it's because it's spread across so many of you. Hopefully, that was what you felt you could afford at the time. But look at what you've bought. So I wanted to take you out today and say, look at what your investment has achieved.
Noisy dog.
He's back to being an annoying idiot. Okay, aren't you? Back to you being your annoying self. We were hoping that he might come back quieter and a bit more reflective, but there's no evidence of that as yet. That may come in time. So you ring the insurance, right? Don't you? And think, right, okay, well, it's what I bought insurance for. Moments exactly like this, and they're, oh well, yes, blah, 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 blah. Yes, the maximum you can claim is £2,000. You're like £2,000? Is that what? Why are you doing policies that actually cover the cost of operations? But anyway, there we go. So that was that, and so so you dig deep and you find a way. But because the worth it is the family. Once you've taken on board someone like him, and I know you all do the same situation. Linda in New York, we're all softies, aren't we? We've all done it in one way, shape, or another. Whether it's people or little waifs and strays, you do what you're gonna do. $210 a month. That's a lot of insurance. Good Lord. He's tired now. So he's showing off because he knows that you lot are watching. But he is tired and he's aching in his back legs. So he'll be reflective later. Yeah, I hope so. If he ever gets to that stage, he's the sort of dog that would run off a canyon, he's just got no sense whatsoever. Need to upgrade. Yeah, it isn't worth it really. When it comes to it, the insurance. I'm not saying obviously it's better than nothing, but I think it's oversold, and I think that's something that if people knew, that actually. And to be fair, his was on the more expensive side. Not everybody's going to get a broken neck or that sort of thing. But I think if you're into sort of cancers and some of these treatments that people have, I think it's similar sorts of cost. So I think there's a big difference between what people think they're getting covered for and what they're actually exposed to. Yeah, and once per condition. So if this happens again, or there's any side effects with that, that's kind of it. So as whichever way, the insurers always have it their own way, don't they? They always make, absolutely neurosurgery, absolutely, always going to be expensive, isn't it? So, it was never going to be cheap. Let's face it, it was never going to be cheap. But the fact is together as a community, you helped us to do that, and look at the difference that it's made. Let me tell you this. I'm not going to tell you this to upset you, but it was only really afterwards that I came to realise what happened was the day before he was due in. This was the Wednesday. He had to go into the vets on the Thursday, and midway through the afternoon, he was angling after going out, wanted to go out for another walk, and he walked round and round, and he wouldn't come back in the house. Literally, he was laying down on the driveway, and you'd have had to drag him in. There was no other way he was coming in. And so, in the end, we've got at the end of our garden like a garden gate. So I walked down the alleyway, we went through the back gate, and sort of tricked him a bit. So at least he was in the garden. He wouldn't come in the house. And that night, he slept outside. And I think that he was in so much pain, he thought he was going to die. And he'd taken himself off. He wouldn't come in the house. He wouldn't be with us. He took himself off. And I must admit, because we obviously didn't know what was happening and how serious it was, but when I went out in the morning, because I had to take him to the vets, I think about 8:30 in the morning we had to be there, so just set up really early. I didn't know whether he was going to be with us or not. I thought that this is it, he's taken himself off. And they know that they've got that kind of sixth sense. So it just shows, doesn't it, the actual pain that he was in. But how brilliant this surgery actually is. And then this resilience, this recovery time is, it's literally, I say it's 10 weeks yesterday. And, you'd never guess that he's kind of post-operative, would you? Look at him. He looks like he's getting tired, which he is now. Not much more than we're going on legs and walk through the woods. But I think it just goes to show their recovery compared to us. I mean, if we were to have, spinal surgery, how long would it take us to be up and about? You're probably talking months. You have to do rehabilitation and what's that called? We get taught how to do stuff. I said talking about thunder. All that sort of stuff. But I can't think, what would you like, physiotherapy and stuff probably. To kind of to get back on the feet, but they don't. As soon as they're back and they're not in pain, they're up and about. Oh yeah, he was on Alpha. I think I showed you one time, didn't I, on a Facebook picture, what his kind of daily meds look like. So there you go. Fran's a year later and still recovering from ankle and lower leg. So when we have stuff on our nerves, if ever full sensation or pain ever goes away, it's not the same. But partly, I think maybe is their pain thresholds are different. But it's their joie de vivre, isn't it? The love for life just conquers everything for them. They just want to be up and out and back on the, back out chasing balls and doing things and shouting and showing off and doing it all. So yeah, he's not on restricted activity now, Nancy. He was for the first sort of 8 weeks. It was kind of, and then it was gradually returning. So now sort of 10 weeks in, this is probably the longest ball play he's had since the accident, isn't it? I think. So this is a kind of exceptionally long thing. Thank you, Elizabeth. Interestingly, by the way, in case you wondered why it is that we mistook the leg thing, apparently it's very, very common to when you get a spinal thing for at least one of the limbs to be affected. And so, of course, what like he was holding his paw was indicating on which side. This is when the nerve twing was coming in. It's that was what was affecting it. So it was almost like a sort of stroke type symptom, as you might say. Do you know what I mean? Is that as that pain was coming in on that side of his body, it was making him constrict and pull his arm in, which is why we thought, as I say, this was an injury to his arm. And we were a million miles off. So all I could just say is it's fantastically, brilliantly observed by our vet Jose, who's a Spanish vet, for spotting it. But had it not been, and this is the really weird thing, think about this, right? Because Humphrey doesn't like the vets. He's obviously had trauma there in the past, and so he's a biter. He goes to them, and unfortunately, he has to wear a muzzle. If you'd have in normal circumstances, he might have even examined his neck. He was there to look at his paw. But because he had to put the muzzle on, and then Humphrey jerked back, he set off, of course, and so that was actually then the spur that led to his diagnosis. So isn't it funny when you think about it like that actually it's through his own kind of failings, antisocial behaviour in terms of his inability to kind of behave at the vets, actually led directly to him kind of replicating this behaviour, which showed the vet that it wasn't a paw injury, that this actually was a neck and spinal thing. So, it's funny, isn't it, when you think about it, how things actually play out in the end. And that what could so easily be a misdiagnosis was found, and all that horrendous pain that he was in, is now being dealt with. You're eating grass, you make yourself sick. Don't do that, you silly boy. And of course, we'd been giving him about half paracetamol, and he came back and he was on medical grade heroin and God knows whatever else, methadone and ketamine, that's it. That's what he was on. When he kind of came out, so he was fair to I was sort of a bit undergunned on the painkillers. So he certainly had a fair few days where he was just drifting along in the afternoons. He flew by, didn't he, lad? Should we go for a walk through the woods then now? Should we show the nice old gentleman? Lovely woods. Ready to play. So just as you're, just so we can John there. We'll go back to Humphrey in a minute, but just so you can kind of see where we are. So there's the race course. So the races would have been on here about 2 hours ago, something like that. Terry's just behind. There's Bishopthorpe over that way. So Bishop Village we went to, didn't we, a week or so back? But let's go and have a walk now through into hydrotherapy pool. When John and Kate moved to Devon near racecourse to vet the hydrotherapy pool. Yes, because horses get terribly lame, don't they? And horses use hydrotherapy a great deal to regain their kind of movement and so forth. So, yes, the horse race course. Yeah, Tina. So, yeah, this is probably the top horse race course in the north of England. It's on turf, so I don't know how they race on you, whether it's on dirt or turf, but this is a turf race course. It's about 2 3/4 miles in length. It's now full oval. And today was the Ebor Handicap, which is the richest handicap race in Europe. Prize money of over £1.5 million on a horse race. So when you go racing, that's where you go over there. It's all stands and enclosures, and that's the kind of infrastructure, if you like, of the racecourse. But the rest of the time we're on the Knavesmire, and this is obviously where we come and exercise in fairly often, not all the time, a little bit of distance. And this then is Knavesmire Woods. So I said we'll go for a walk in the woods. So let us do that. I'm sure it's on Zoom. So it's a lovely bit of ancient woodland. See it? Used to play here a great deal as a kid because Bishop's only about a mile away from here. There's a crossing point over there. Look, see now what he's doing. He's walking a few steps and he's kind of lying down. It's quite typical with him. He goes and goes and goes, but then he's stiff, and you see. So this is now his hips hurt him. Yes, it's fantastic, Tina, for taking him off leash. I don't know what place is nearer than this, but I just thought it's a lovely place for us to come, just so you can see the kind of just how outdoors it is. And the reason there's so much of this space, by the way, is flooding area. But as many of you will know, York is subject to very serious kind of flooding problems. We sit so low, and so this basically works as a floodplain. So the horse racing has actually been in here since the 1730s, but it's been kind of obviously an open space for centuries. Because you can't really build on it, because this is where the water comes when the river floods. So come on then, let's get you walking. We'll just walk slowly back, lad. We don't have to. Yeah, I'm always reluctant to carry him, Leslie, because I might get one of them trolleys in the future. Because obviously he's back-ended, I never want to sort of put on. I think he's limbering up for a toilet visit. So I think we'll move the camera. It's not a spectator spot. I will bring you back in. A doggy backpack. Yeah, he'd like that. He'd go in that all the time, I think. Yeah, I don't think he'd mind that one at all. So yes, a big area for doggy walkers. People, just the distance you can see, but so much space. What's lovely is, of course, you don't have to get in each other's way. So even if your dog is a bit funny around other dogs, not that he's usually fine. There's always kind of loads of space to kind of exercise. Jamie, have you found yourself down here yet? Have you explored this part of the city down by the Knavesmire? So we're going to cross actually the track itself now. So this is, of course, the horse racing track, and then we'll go for a little gentle walk through the woods because he's a bit more sensible now. And a friend of mine had a doggy stroller. Yeah, like them sort of pram things. Is that what you mean by doggy stroller? I've sort of seen them. I've seen them on the back of bikes as well. People sort of take older dogs, don't they? So yeah, we cross here. That's good. You can always get a doggy carriage. I have a single and double. Okay, thanks, Linda. That's useful to know. It may come to that. I mean, at the moment, he's all right, and but I think, like anybody, isn't it? It's a case of you have to watch him and see the signs. Now, I've probably taken a little bit longer than I would normally today because, I wanted you lot to see how well he's doing. So, of course, he's played a little bit more exercise. But that's not a bad thing. This is definitely the biggest piece of single exercise he's had, in 10 weeks. So, he needs now more exercise like this because he has put on some rolls. I don't know if you can see, but his hair's cut short, but he's definitely a bit chunkier than he was. And of course, I'm not being mean about that. With him having a bad back end, what that does mean is that if he carries weight, that's more weight on his back end. So again, it's just about managing his condition to keep him in the best physical shape we can, so that he doesn't suffer from additional pain through carrying kind of weight. So today is the beginning. Let's go to this one. Today really is the kind of the beginnings of getting Humphrey back into boot camp over the coming weeks. So we might do another video in a couple of weeks and let you see how he's got on. See if he's managed to lose a little bit of this chunkiness that he's picked up. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's not really bad, but he is definitely... Humphrey just needs Zumba. Yeah, can you do Zumba with him, Janie? That'd be fantastic. You could do it on Zoom with him, couldn't you, maybe? Mrs. John will do it as well. Some rehab, absolutely. So I think that's what he needs. I say you can't help it with him, can you? Really? When you can't exercise and you feel sorry for him, so you give him extra treats, don't you? And you want to build him back up as well. So and he's greedy as well. I mean, he's so greedy. He's such a boy in that respect. He's like having a teenage boy. He'd empty the fridge. If it was up to him, he'd just go in there. And the other day, I made a sandwich, right? Cheese and ham sandwich. Right? I put it down. I was out of the room for 15 seconds, and he got it. He's not normally that bad, but he just saw his chance because he thinks we've been starving him. Because I've decided that he needs to sort of lose some, just a general direction. He needs to lose a bit of weight. So I'm afraid to say I want you to all show your displeasure and disgrace and tell him what you think of his thieving of sandwiches. Should have made him one, yeah. Well, I did in the end. Didn't mean to, but I did. And of course, wouldn't you know, it was the last piece of ham, so I didn't get to have a cheese and ham sandwich. He did. He had mine. So as I say, given that he's got sisters that give him treats all the time when I'm not looking, so he definitely needs now to up the exercise a little bit to get himself back into a decent physical shape, so that we've got years of Humphrey to come. It's it's all about managing condition and but you can see. I think the main thing is you can just see how happy he is. He's content, and of course he's in pain. He's going to be in pain, even if he wasn't. This wrong with him. He's getting older, so of course he's going to get twinges and aches, and that doesn't bother him. He takes that on the chin. What I'm delighted to say is he's got a really good quality of life. He's got a really positive outlook. His tail's up. Yeah. He wants to see you, spend time with you. He's not folding up in a corner, sulking. He's not waiting for dying. He's waiting to live. For him, it's just life's great. Because obviously what we don't know is, because this thing in his neck obviously broke off, how long it had been a problem for him. Had it just gradually worsened and worsened and worsened, and then lodged into this nerve root? We don't know. Because of course without MRI, you've no idea, have you? So we're assuming that it happened. Should we go this way? Yeah, I'm back on the motor. We were kind of assuming that obviously that happened there and then, but of course what it might have done, is it might have deteriorated markedly, but had already been a condition for him. So again, we're looking at him now, and his face now, which he's smiling, thinking, is it he's been released from a pain that he's been experiencing for quite a long time, rather than just those sort of few days beforehand. So overall, I would say that his prognosis is excellent. If you look at his movement, his motion, his balance, everything is kind of good. The vet was that we sent videos of him frequently up to the surgery to allow him to them to kind of look at his sort of movement, and they were absolutely delighted with his. Your cat destroys the toilet paper. How do you tell a cat off? But so everything is all signs are good. I say now a bit more gentle reintroduction, rehab, exercise, more ball play. Just try and watch the snacks. Try and get a kilo or two off him. But by and large, it is incredible for me to say that a shade over under 3 months ago, I thought he set himself off to die. And now he's a dog that has just got so much life and so many happy years in front of him. So yeah, he's living his best life, and it's so lovely, you know, the fondness that you guys have for him and are attached to Humphrey. Very fortunate in that regard, and I think he knows. I think he rather likes his celebrity status. I do think he's aware of it, and just to milk it. Oh, hang on, this is definitely a bit where we move the camera. There's nothing to see here, as you say. Put your wedge of lemon. Oh, does that work then, Treaty? You put lemon in there, it keeps the cats from drinking. Unfortunately, if you put a cup of tea down, basically that may well be the last that you'll have of that cup of tea. Coffee even sometimes. He basically, as far as if humans have it, he wants it. That is basically. Oh, Humphrey. So he doesn't stand still when he does his business. So I'm going to show you something beautiful rather than what's actually happening under my nose. Yeah, the lovely trees. Isn't it lovely? So this is Knavesmire Wood. So it's ancient woodland, and it is so nice always to walk through the woods. It used to be a lot denser when I was a kid. We used to come and play here an awful lot. But to be pollarded out a lot, it's been a lot thin or coppiced, whichever one. It's coppiced, isn't it? Thinned out a great deal. So I think there's a lot of kind of dying, a lot of Dutch elm down here killed it off. So it's kind of had to be kind of rebuilt. But it's a lovely, lovely spot. And we are, have we got some bags? So this is like a bridleway section that runs through the midst of. Well, I can't see. So it's like a bridleway that kind of runs right through the middle, but of course everything else is a good deal more narrow as you kind of wander around. So it's a great. He absolutely loves it, and he loves nothing more than coming in the autumn when it's thick with leaves on the ground, and he absolutely adores running through leaves. He crashes through them, skids through them. Any excuse that Humphrey can find to run through the leaves and roll in them, he does. He's such a. Again, it's his joie de vivre. You talk about me, aren't you? You can sort of tell. Yeah, hang on. Come back over. Come here. Good boy. Let's come over. Where should we go? You lead the way. Go on then. You're the tour guide, Humphrey. Humphrey is now in control. So wherever we're going is where Humphrey wants to go. Look at him, off he goes again. Suddenly, look, he's got this. He's on a scent. He's absolutely a tracker dog. Something inside them, isn't it? It's funny, isn't it? They do all these sort of blends, but because we're pretty certain a Springer Spaniel, the sort of slightly larger one. You got really his head's like a Springer Spaniel, and then a poodle. But no, we're not going any further. But that Springer Spaniel is the field dogs, like the trackers. They retrieve, when people are out shooting and stuff. That's what they're originally bred for. And he hasn't lost that. He's got a real kind of keen scent. He gets his head right down flat onto the ground. And of course, out here in the woods, there'll be all sorts of little critters. But you can smell something, can't you? He's absolutely anchoring in. I'm trying to pull him, but you see, I've got a straight lead here, and he's digging his heels in and going, no, I want to be over there. Come on. Good boy. Should we go over here? Because I'm losing the gimbal. Hey. Which is not ideal. There we go. Good boy. Does your dog love leash as well? Yeah, he just runs and just launches and skids. He absolutely just goes mad when it comes to autumn and the leaves. He's a lovely, lovely time. Thank you, Elizabeth. We love him too. He is absolutely. Lynn's dog thought she was a cat. Try and perch on ledges. Oh my God, that goes badly as it sounds. Come on then. Come on, you. Come on. Let's have you. Where are you going? Let's let him off and see what he does. So we've got free range Humphrey now. Is it nice as well that the 4G is pretty good in the woods? It's even though the gimbal is struggling to keep up with him because he keeps going backwards and forwards and figure of eights, and gimbals don't like that. They like to be sort of held sort of still and steady. But of course, to chase him, you have to go. Has he seen snow? It would be strange if he had seen snow this time of year, unless we could gain behind him. That's the only snow in here, I think. Humphrey, look at him now. Honestly, whiff of freedom in his nostrils and he's off. So look at him running now. You know, he couldn't walk, could he, a few minutes ago? And now you do worry about them, but then, you know, this is him naturally. This is him doing it. You know, we're not making him do this, are we? If he didn't want to explore, he wouldn't, would he? He'd sit down and lie down. But look at him. He's just being his best dog, isn't he? This is him. This is who he is, and what he wants to be. He just loves. But this is great as far as I'm concerned, you know, because it's low intensity stuff. It's not hurting him. You know, the lead is slowing it down. You're jumping over there. It's a bit of show jumping for you. Always a show off. Are you showing off, young man? Are you showing off, actually? In pretty good shape. He is doing dressage. He does that, you know, he moves sideways at times. It's ever so funny. He's yeah, he's doing he's doing a bit of cross country for us. So we'll follow him for the last minute or two. We're coming back to our 45 minutes. I think we ought to. I do need to get my dog back. He's over here. What are you doing, you? Eh? You think you're brilliant, don't you? And you just know. He has got pretty good. I'm not. If I did call him Humphrey, come here, boy. Come on. Good boy. Yes, he's pretty good. He is making up for lost time. So he is definitely on a quest, isn't he? That's it. Come on, sit down, Humphrey. Good boy. We enjoyed that. A lot. So that was absolutely lovely. So we're not going to lose any of the words. So I think we're at 45 minutes. So I think I'm going to wrap it there because I don't want him getting any more excited. I think he needs to so I want to be able to sort of walk him in. So I'm going to say thank you so much. Going to bring on Mrs. John as well, just to say hello, wave, and say thank you. We do appreciate all your love and support. And one last look at this furry lummox. Oi, come here. Humphrey. Are you going to come here? Humphrey. Have a treat. Have a treat to finish off. Oh, now then, this is serious. You're very, very welcome, Tish. So it looks like we've got some treats. Oh, my word. Look at that. Oh, lovely. Oh, they're from all your friends. They're from all your friends, all points north, and here you go. Yeah. So there you see now his back of his neck. He's almost going to heal. Look, he keeps kicking the scab off it, but again, obviously the fur's grown. You wouldn't believe, would you, that that was a bald, you know, stitched up scab, you know, just a few weeks ago. So it is utterly remarkable. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been absolutely lovely to see you all, and we're going to say bye-bye from the woods. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Humphrey.